But everybody was there. Right. But I really don't know what one of them. The same way in Dixon. What did we want over there?
Well, that was President Johnson's deal after Kennedy got assassinated.
That's right. It was Kennedy and Johnson took over. That's why Johnson said he wouldn't run for president again because people were all against it.
Right. No, it's all politics, money. It's all it's about. You look back in history, and when the economy was ahead of war.
Well, when I think about it, really, we had the Korea, but we were trying to keep Korea free from the communists. Well, on the other hand, this one, let them take it. Let them make it communist. So what?
We could care less.
Well, that's right. Let them have it.
We're trying to instill our way of life and government on all these foreign countries.
We're trying to do it. That's true. That's not. I don't know why we got to be predominantly a police state to force our will on all the rest of these countries. Let them go their goddamn way.
They've lived that way for 150, 200 years.
Let them live in a tent.
I think you might say that I'm an isolationist. No, I'm not. But I say, if they're Muslim and we're trying to make them Christians, the hell with it. Let them be Muslim.
Right. Yep. You can convert the Catholics, Methodists.
We have.
You don't convert them to your religion over here.
We have in the church, you have your money you donate. You have money you donate for the building fund. You have your money that's for current expenses. And included in the current expenses are overseas missions.
Yep.
Why do we have to
go overseas?
Overseas. Why the hell do we have to enforce, try to build churches over in Japan where they are not Christian? They're Buddhist or whatever they are, Shintoism, whatever it is. Why are we trying to force that?
We think our way is the best, but that's bullshit.
We think it is.
The best.
Theirs might be better. We don't know.
That's right.
So I say that, I don't know. I feel the way we should do this is take care of our own.
Charity begins at home. I've often advocated that.
Well, I feel that we should take care of our own people. Right, we've got hundreds of thousands of people in this country that could use our help more than they can overseas or in Africa.
Food, shelter, clothing.
Look at somebody
Sleeping in the streets. A country like our way that we're trying to instill on all these foreign countries, and we got poor people, no homes, no jobs, no nothing, sleeping in the streets.
Well, look at. I'm not just saying any certain group of people, but for Christ's sake, look at our Indians, for Christ's sake. I'm not talking the ones that are running the casinos, but I'm saying like in Dakotas.
Poor.
Poor. And why the hell can't we help them people instead of taking that money and sending it to Africa or sending it to...
Their own people won't help them. That's the sad part.
That's right.
All the nations that have got casinos all over the country.
And
they will not help those people.
I'm thirsty, Wally.
There's water. Huh? There's water.
Oh, shut up. There's water, she said.
I heard that.
Yeah, you're a pretty good guy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? You're turning into an old nag.
I am an old man. There ain't
no not an old man. An old nag.
No. I've turned into an old man, and I don't deny it.
No, you're not an old man. You're my honey.
You done, Wally?
Yeah, I'm about finished.
Bring your drink
One
over.
is my capacity.
One?
Yeah, I'm turning over a new leaf,
What's under the leaf?
maple leaf.
What kind of leaf is that?
Oh. Gotta have some ice cubes over in there.
Yeah.
Oh,
I gotta have something to.
I'll get some. I'll get some.
oh, you better have a brandy if you got a sore throat.
2 months.
2 months? Who's in there?
Holy Christ.
I dropped my watch, she said. It's a Bulova, too.
Boulevard?
Oh, yes, Polly, the way it goes, you know. As soon as you get so old, the later smart. Better we take one, I'd say.
I was up there at Woman that dance.
Want some of these?
You get 4 damn phone calls and running around all the time looking for this or that or want somebody that,
Oh, he's still congenial.
Well, they're so important. Oh, you know.
well, he must be pretty important.
It's
They
not
give you
somebody
that
back
idea.
room is calling him.
You want another one?
No, you want it.
No, I got some. I got plenty.
There's a little one.
Well, that'll figure.
We stopped up there on the way back
Uh-huh.
by Fisherman's Road,
Yeah?
and there's some guys in there that had been, I guess they had been virgin spearing or something,
Oh, really?
and he said for the last, they're over now, I mean, they're done fishing.
Yeah.
I should say the perch are done biting, but for the last month they've been catching them and catching the limit just out of Fond du Lac.
Ah.
Month of January. Everybody is filling up on nice perch. When sturgeon season started, the guys moved in there and cut holes and the sturgeon come in. Everybody is down towards Fond du Lac, it looks like. Thousands of shacks out there, huh?
Quite a few.
Now the water was clear up until that point. Now it's getting murky. They can only see down about, what do you say, 7 feet?
Well, he said you could see the minnow right on the bottom before.
Yeah. Now the shad are in there and the sturgeon are, what'd they cut that one female open? She had 80 shad in her.
Oh, my God.
Pretty good sized shad.
The lake is full of shad.
Geez, that's terrible. That's why we aren't getting fish.
That's why we weren't getting any walleyes last year. Why the hell should they take an artificial when the lake is full of these shad? That cave with that, the hell do they call them? Rocket tube.
Hold on, they fired from the shoulder.
Yeah, right. The hell are they calling it? Bazooka.
Yeah.
What was a bazooka shot going in there? You ever fire one then?
Not in the Navy. You have no reason to in the water.
I fired them. You burn your face, but then later on they gave us a shield to put on our face. Because when they go and you fire, that
I thought that exhaust was all behind you.
it comes out of the back, yes. But when it's still going out and the tube is right here, it's still blowing that stuff back at your face, you see. And there's all little particles in there that hit your face that burn. So you put a shield on your face.
Yeah. Nope, never fired them. 20 millimeter, 50 caliber, 30.
I call them bazookas, and
Yeah.
they're really nothing to them. They're only,
But now they're rockets.
well, these are jet or rocket propelled,
Yeah.
and they're fired with nothing more than a flashlight battery. You have this thing with the trigger. You put it on your shoulder, and you aim across it, And when you pull that trigger, it makes electrical contact. And there are two wires on the back that you put on, and like a spring. You put that wire on the spring. And when you pull the trigger, it makes contact. It's electrical charge from the battery. That's all it takes. Sets that damn rocket off. You know, and it goes out. There's no recoil.
No.
It just goes out, and all that shit goes back in your face. And the projectile on them is, they don't go very straight. You'd have to probably aim 5 feet
Oh,
above
lob
the
it
front.
in, huh?
Yeah, because it kind of lobs in.
Yeah.
But the damn thing is only this long.
The tube?
No, the tube is usually in two pieces. You screw them together.
What, 5
The
feet?
first ones were big, long tubes like that, but they were too hard for the guys to carry. So there were two sections, and you just hook them together. The projectile, there's fins on the back, and then the inside of this thing, that's just tube with the propellant. When it would burn from the back and blow it out. And the projectile in the front is just like a grenade that had a little aluminum cap on the front, which it did two things. It acted as a wind streamline to make it fly straight, and also when it hit, it would build up like a little dam around. And this thing was built so that in back there was a piece of steel way back here, and when that would hit, the seal would come and hit inside the dam and put a hole about as big as a shotgun shell inside, but when it went through, all the seal flying around,
Right.
the seal, red hot seal, would set things afire or kill you.
There's anything around it, right?
Right.
Weaponry nowadays, they went into this thing. They've got weapons, for God's sake, that nobody even knows about. That's secret.
You're right.
Radio wave.
You're right, but on the other hand, the weapons that we've got that are really thing of the, you might say, scientific, real good. But how many things have they got that they haven't improved on that we don't even know about?
You bet that. The uniform. Over there. They got 4 or 5 layers of different cloth, protective stuff. Glove, hood, mask, gas mask.
Well,
How the hell are you going to fight with all that stuff?
some of this stuff is protective, like bulletproof vests. We didn't have in World War II. They've got something like that now, but you get hit in the head, that ain't gonna,
That's right. All they're doing is protecting your chest.
right. That ain't gonna slow up that bullet any if you get hit in the head. The shells they got now, like in the Gulf War, the shells are made out of depleted uranium. In other words, spent uranium.
Yeah.
The shells are made out of that. I don't know how the hell they work, but they're so powerful that they do penetrate this armor. Now, when we were over in Europe,
Pretty thick stuff too, and it'll
Oh.
go right through it.
the front end of the tank is slanted like this, and they're 7 inches thick. This way, but it's slanted so
Bounces
that
off.
it bounces off. But guys, this I don't know what the hell this depleted uranium does. Must be something that penetrates this armor, burns its way through or something. I don't know. We had, in our tanks, we carried 3 shells. Each tank had 3 shells. Special shells that were built in England. And they tungsten tip. The only goddamn thing that would penetrate is some of the heavy German armor. If you fired one, you had to write a report, fill out a report on what the hell it did, what you fired at, and all this kind of stuff. We had other shells, but only 3 of them had special shells.
So would it penetrate the armor that they had on their big tank?
They claim it would. I never shot at a goddamn German Mark V with one of them shells. I shot at a lot of the other tanks with the regular armor-piercing shells and high explosive.
Yeah.
But the regular shells, you could penetrate the Mark IIIs, Mark IVs, with these big Tiger tanks.
Yeah, they were kind of like the best, weren't they?
They were the best, And don't let anybody ever tell you that our tanks were better than theirs. They were not. We just had more of them.
Interesting, you and I were talking about that. These big cities, boy, are really on alert. They don't know who the hell's going to hit, you know? Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco.
Sorry.
It's just that there is a tape in there. Oop.
Wally, but it's the prestige. You think of what that would do to Al-Qaeda, or what the hell they call them. You know, wouldn't that really put a feather in his cap? But when you think of it, boy, we can be thankful to God that we're sitting here.
Little Beaver Dam in Oregon.
Little Beaver Dam, Little Horkin. But these people in New York, people in Chicago, people out on the East Coast, San Francisco, the bigger cities.
What can you do to a city of
There
8
must
million, 5
there
million
must be
people?
a son of a gun living in a town like that.
But today, you had the water supply and the electrical supply, and you come in there with some bomb or biochemical or whatever. Oh, what a frickin' mess that would be. Couldn't handle it all.
How would, for instance, if I was a terrorist, I'd have a guy with a timing device sitting on shore, for instance in New York. It wouldn't have to be New York, it could be San Francisco, it could be any place, a seaport, any place, Seattle. And these container ships that come in from Seattle, and one of these whole goddamn containers, which are locked, have that
You
damn
don't know what's coming in.
have that thing loaded up with 5,000 pounds of TNT. And this guy's sitting there waiting, and when that ship comes in and you want to right in the right spot, blow that thing up. What the hell would that do to New York?
I've seen films on that where they hit these loading docks with thousands of these containers.
I
Thousands.
see them on television.
How the hell can they expect that?
And I was watching, we saw them container ships, and they don't even put them in the hole, they put them right up on top.
Stack them.
And of course they stack them 5 high,
Right.
like a semi-truck on top of one another.
Yep.
Holy shit, what would that do?
And they come into the harbor. Dozens of ships.
How about sending one of them down through the Panama Canal?
One of my golfing friends is going down to Panama. He's going down a tour. I said, go down and take a tour through the Panama Canal. With all this shit brewing, I said, you may end up staying in Panama. You know?
Right.
I wouldn't think about going overseas or any other foreign country. Not now.
I think I wouldn't want no part of going to any of these foreign countries. I don't give a damn where it is.
That's right.
The trouble they've been having on these goddamn cruise ships.
Look at the water.
Yeah, look at that. Look at all the water's all gone happy.
Yeah.
60 pounds has been let in the garbage can because nobody can eat it.
Isn't it like a fat or something? That's a fat, isn't it?
No, it's a lamb.
Mutton is an old sheep. You know,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
when we I couldn't take it, and none of the other guys could either. So towards evening we'd go out and shoot rabbits in the evening when they were coming. Over there they aren't cottontails. They call them hare.
Oh, yeah.
And they come out and they kind of sun themselves in the evening. And we shoot a couple of rabbits and we go to the kitchen and get a gallon can and put some water in there and some salt and pepper and cook rabbit. So we ate rabbit.
Wow. We used to raise rabbits on the farm. For at least for a while we did. They're hard. They're a hard keeper though. You gotta really keep the cages clean. If you don't want them to get sick at least. And you gotta make sure you feed them and water them all the time. And you know, and you gotta kind of keep everything pretty well clean and kept up.
First, my father felt the same way about pigs and chickens.
They were feeding us mutton and old green liver.
Green liver?
The liver was actually green. And then they'd trim the green off and they'd feed us this damn liver. Well, I wasn't used to eating it, and the other guys that I was with, they didn't eat it either. No, nobody ate it.
Tell us about fishing.
I went down to the river there. You see, in England, nobody is allowed to shoot rabbits, but they would be out putting snares out for them during the war, you know, and food was scarce. But the streams over there are full of whitefish, eel, and trout. And nobody can fish them because the streams belong to the royal family. So right near where we were stationed, there was a stream that went through, and man, you'd look over the bridge and you'd see the trout in there and swimming in there. And so we went down to the stream and used hand grenades.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And throw it in the water and boom, and the fish would come up, and then we fished the fish out. And so the British Bobby, the cop, come by patrolling on a bicycle because they didn't have no fuel for the squad car, so he come by on a bicycle and he had one of these helmets on that looked like the Keystone Cops.
Okay, yeah.
He says, "I say, you chops can't fish here. This is the king's land." So, "Oh, well, you ain't fishing. We got no fish poles." He looked at us. He thought, "Oh, them damn Yanks, they don't know nothing anyway." So he gets on his bicycle and he takes off, and then we put our fish in the bag, and we went up and had to cook our fish up. We had 60 pounds of trout.
Oh, God. Oh, 60 pounds. Oh, my God. Jesus Christ. I probably ain't a lot of fish, really.
Well, 60 pounds of trout, that was
Like
pretty
a
good.
pound a piece or something.
So, boy, everybody enjoyed fish that day.
Oh, yeah. And how many times did you do that?
One
You know, hand grenade, Christ, you have a lot of them.
Yeah.
There's a couple of you put float a piece of that's another
Well,
story.
you throw the hand grenade in any fish that are nearby, and you find a hole.
Yeah.
And any fish that are nearby, it'll kill them within 10 feet.
Exactly.
So you put the hand grenade in the water?
Yeah, just throw it down in there.
Poked in and throw it in the
Yeah.
water. Okay.
Duck, though.
Well, I'm going to blow 'em out of the water and everything.
I was to say that.
Well, I don't blow them out of the water, but it, boom, it'll go
It's
like
a
that,
concussion.
and bubbles will come up, and then here come these fish floating out
Sure.
there.
Because a concussion in itself will kill a fish. So
Okay.
the fragments are supposed to kill a fish, too.
So that
That's
works.
funny how you got 'em. Okay.
It's real good. We were always out of hand grenades.
I wonder why. Jesus.
Yeah,
They're in Belgium.
yeah. He wasn't about to settle for anything less than good victuals.
Well, I can tell you a little different hand grenade story.
Oh, what's that?
That really happened to me, and this is true. Well, one night I was the commander. I was the commander of the relief one night, which is you get the guards around the perimeter. Now this is in Vietnam. The guards around the perimeter, you know, And then I had a lieutenant with me. We go around and check, make sure everybody's awake, make sure that everything was going right, and so forth, etc. Well, we got to this one guard tower, and we thought we noticed something laying there. There was a damn live hand grenade laying there. We don't know if they threw it, if somebody threw it and tried to blow something up, or what the deal was. So the lieutenant that was with, I think it was a lieutenant, if I remember right. Lieutenant was with me. He says, "Okay, here's what we're going to do. Do everything I say, and don't do any more. Shake it, move it, or turn it." I think it's something like that. So I did exactly what he says it means. He says, "And keep your hand on that trigger." He says, "It probably isn't triggered yet, but he says if you don't put it on there, it will be." So that's what we did. You can see the pin was pulled. Okay, so apparently it must have been dud or it didn't go off. We don't know. Well, anyway, so then I very carefully got in the Jeep. I'm turning God me. And I believe I was I don't know if it was Spec 5 or nothing, but Special 5th class, probably roughly equivalent to Sergeant. I think I was. Well, anyway, so then we drove up. I don't know how far we drove up. We got getting as close to the river as we could. Then he told me what to do, and I can't remember word for word what he told me. He says, take it back and keep it to the same exact angle. Don't change the angle. Meaning, if I got it like this, keep it like that. He says, if you change the angle, it could blow up on you. So I did that, and he says, then take it, and when you get back here, he says, throw the damn thing as hard as you can, and duck. He says, because it might go off the second you throw it. So I did. I threw it as hard as I could, and then the thing went into the water and it blew up. It did. Well, it could have been problems. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy, that was the weirdest, scariest thing that ever happened to me. Well, I shouldn't say that. I did have one other case, not hand grenade story this time. This is a different hand grenade. This is a different war story now. Let's see, was that the first time? Maybe the second time. We didn't have a guard perimeter the first time. Well, anyway, I was walking back. I think I went to see, on this base, it was just like a city. This is in Vietnam, but it was just like a city. They had libraries, they had grocery stores, everything. Just like we would here. Just like we would right here. No difference. Well, anyway, I went to the library one night to read, and it was just, I think it was like dusk, I think. Because I remember a little bit of light. I could see this guy coming up to me. But anyway, and he's got a weapon pointing right at me. And he's one of our guys. Okay. Full clip. I could see the clip in the gun. And he's drunk. Drunk as well, I think he was drunk, at least he acted like he was drunk. Anyway, so then he's giving me a shit, where am I going and stuff. I can't remember all the words he said. The time went nowhere here, because I was thinking, oh my God, I do my whole life going in front of me. You know what I mean? So then, something distracted his attention. I don't know what it was. He looked away. I took his gun. I went like this to the gun, and I ran. By the time he pointed the gun and found me, I'd be gone. Because I was trying to see a way to get out anyway. You know. So it didn't. I moved so damn fast. And I learned an old trick. They showed us this in, I think it was Fort Riley, I think. Well, anyway, never run straight. Always zigzag. You're going to run away from something. They can't get you as easy. So I used that, but they never shot. So I don't know if he couldn't see me or what. And I didn't care. I was gone.
Yeah.
So I had a couple, those are the two encounters I had. And from our own guide, I might say, you know, from our own people.
When you were,
What countries?
yeah. Was it Belgium?
Well, Belgium. Oh. We landed in France, and in England 6 months. Then we went across the channel, landed in France, and then I was in France and never got into Holland. I was real close to it, but never got into it. And then finished up in Germany.
That's all right, you didn't go to Holland, you know why? There's way too many women up there.
I didn't. We got close to Holland, but I didn't get into Holland.
Oh, there's way too many women in Holland. Yeah.
This is
Yeah, now they hold them up like this. They don't even need nothing like that. The RPG rounds off, you know, so I could throw a grenade, no.
Westfall ran the barber shop. Chief Westfall, he had another name, but we called him Chief. He worked for him. But he built boats for making spare money, I guess. And anyway, he built a boat, and my dad bought it, and that's what we used for duck skiff to go up in the marsh and hunt.
Your dad hunted ducks too then?
Yes, yes, he did.
What kind of gun did he have to shoot with? What did you start
He
off
had to start with, he had a double barrel that he got from my grandfather. And neither one of us, I couldn't shoot with it, neither could he, because I guess we were shooting from one end of the barrel to the other, and it was he finally bought a Remington automatic.
Okay.
And 12 gauge. And he bought that through some guy that worked for a Remington company, and he used to come around and demonstrating these guns when they had the trap club out there in the park, on Horkin, if you remember that.
Sure, I used to set trap there.
Well, he came out and he bought, this guy got him a gun. So I don't know what he paid for it, but I guess he had a pretty good deal.
Well, what were you shooting then in those when you started hunting?
At the time,
Yeah.
I was shooting a 16 gauge Model 12 pump.
Or did you guys have a boat and motor that you took up in the marsh and pull a skiff along, or how did you?
We had that duck skiff. I took a 2x4 and had made out of angle irons and back, and had a 3.5 horse Alto on there.
Yeah, went up
And
there.
you sat on one side of the duck skiff, and I went up the marsh with that. A little 3.5 horse Alto.
Did you have a boathouse there someplace, or did you keep that boat in the town with a trailer down in the
Yes,
river?
I had a boathouse right next to where below where Mrs. Kurtz lived. Lenny Kurtz. His dad had a boathouse right next to it, a big red one. And,
See where would that be?
well, it
It was
was
below the Catholic Church down towards the dam.
okay. You know where the Catholic Church was, and then there
Yeah.
was a bridge. That bridge is no longer there. They put a new bridge in, but it was the first boathouse going upstream. It was on the left-hand side going
Oh
upstream.
yeah, okay.
That was our boathouse,
Oh, I see. I know where it is. Sure.
and we
So
leased.
right below the railroad bridge, then it was.
No. It was my boathouse. It was Kurtz's. Then there was another boathouse next to Kurtz's, and that did at one time belong to Otto Lehman.
Okay.
Otto Lehman ran a tavern in Horkin. They called it a saloon in those days.
Yeah.
Then there was another boathouse, and that was all fallen down, and that was the last one. There were 4 boathouses on that side, and then came the bridge across the river where the railroad would go into John Deere.
Okay, that's what I mean. It was between the bridge by the Catholic Church and the railroad bridge. It was
Yes,
between there on
there
the.
was 4 boathouses on that
Right, I
side.
know where it was. There's somebody there. My dad used to buy raspberries from somebody that had a garden right there. Who would that have been?
Mrs. Kurtz.
He used to come in with raspberries. I was buying from her. She had a raspberry patch there somewhere. But
It was probably Mrs. Kurtz, because she would raise, get tomatoes and stuff started, you
Yeah.
know, and she had a garden. That was a little white house, the first house after you came across the bridge on the right-hand side.
that was the place. You betcha, that was the place.
That was Mrs. Kurtz.
Where did you guys go when you hunted ducks up there? What was one of your couple of your spots to go? Where did you?
Probably most popular place was up either West Lake or up towards Molson's Bay.
Oh, that took you to get to Moses Bay. That took you a while with that little Alto to get up as far as Moses Bay.
Oh yeah, we were in no hurry. Oh sure, we were in a hurry, but it would take you maybe 45 minutes to
Oh,
get
yeah,
up there.
yeah.
Maybe an hour.
When were those carp traps going to place there that my dad had? Was that before the carp traps were there? There was one by
That was
Pope.
way before they had carp traps up there.
You hunted Moses Bay quite a bit there. But what did you shoot there? Mallards, a little bit everything?
Well, in those days you could have 10 ducks, and didn't make any difference what kind they were.
Yeah.
The limit was 10. So you'd go out there and shoot, and some days if weather was right and the ducks were flying, well, you'd try to pick out all black mallards
Oh, yeah.
and we used to shoot a lot of spoonbills too.
We did?
Yes, spoonbills, pintails.
Did you have a dog?
Yeah, Yeah.
What kind of dog was that?
Well, it was a cross. It was a cross between an English pointer and a coonhound. and it wasn't a good duck dog, but it was a dog, you know, and
Yeah.
he'd go out and bring your duck back.
You didn't make a blind. You make a blind at all for that you could put around that. Or did you just push it
Well,
in the grass?
usually what you made is you took a bunch of willows along the shore and cut willows, and then you'd push in there and you'd bring all these bunches of willows along, and then you'd stick them in the mud
yeah.
all the way around the boat, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes it was like that. Sometimes you'd make one out of wood packing crates or whatever, and put your boat in there and put a bunch of cattails around it, you know. And
Did your dad, could he take off from the store, or if it was a good duck day, you could say, let's go duck hunting, and in the morning like that, and come back at 10 o'clock or something, work in the store? Or how did you...
Well, there were certain days, you know, when they weren't too busy, and then my dad would go up and hunting, and my mother would take care of the store. And
How old were you when you started?
when I started,
Yeah.
I was 16 years old.
Oh, yeah. At Mosens Bay, when you hunted there, remember sometimes there where there was really some snowstorm or anything like that, where you were with your dad, that you just had some extra good days?
No, I don't remember going duck hunting when there was that much bad weather, although one time he went up and it started to snow, and I remember that day it was pretty hard to see because there was snow flying all over, and there was a bunch of big white swans come over. First time in my life I ever saw swans, and they were flying pretty low. It was snowing.
Yeah. Didn't take a shot at those?
No. I was law-abiding. I didn't shoot no swan.
I saw one of those swans I used to hunt by, when you went up to Mosens Bay, you probably got to what's called the Y. The main ditch went straight ahead. You went off to the right there, toward
To the
the
right.
past 4 Mile up that way.
Yeah.
But right to the left there was an island there called Stony Island. We used to hunt along that south line, and I saw.
That was the old riverbed in there.
Yeah,
It went by Stony Island. That's right.
And by Meeski River there, I remember I was hunting there one time, and about 6 or 7 swans came under. And God dang it, there was a guy right behind Zeerings that banged down for one of them swans in the river. And everybody knew there were swans, but and even after it froze up after a while, and I went ice skating up in the marsh, and there was a little bit of snow there, the mate for that swan must have been hanging around there, because you could see the great big prints in the snow where that swan was hanging around. It might have been the one they shot with a cripple you had to see.
It might have been a cripple. That was probably the one.
Yeah, they just shot that time.
Well, he probably wouldn't have lasted long. The mink would have got him.
Yeah. Where else did you hunt up there besides Mosens Bay? You said you hunted...
West Lake, and we hunted when the Federal was still open, before the Federal closed that.
Did you hunt that?
Yes.
You did?
Yes. We hunted, went up and pushed into Town Line Ditch and hunted north of there.
Okay.
That was Federal.
You had the motor on the side of the boat. You took the motor off, laid it in the bottom of the skiff then when you...
Yeah, take the motor off, just a little more.
Yeah. Push paddle you had? Did you make your own push paddle, or did you have...
Push paddle.
Yeah. You have a duckbill on the end of that thing?
Yeah,
You did.
right. Yeah, duckbill.
One that you bought, or did you make one for you?
No, I bought it.
Yeah. A lot of those paddles years ago at Horican just had a regular paddle on the bottom, because the guys used to fish northerns on the marsh, and they stick that paddle in a screw on the side of the boat and tie a little rope around it rather than using an anchor, you know, so that... Because I don't remember our paddles ever having duckbills on it, but you had a duckbill push paddle like that, huh?
Yeah, well, first one we saw and thought that was a pretty good one,
Yeah.
so before that we just had a regular push paddle without a bunch of stuff on it, just a blade, you know.
Yeah.
And when you push in the mud, you know, then it gets stuck. And
What do you remember that Town Line Ditch being like, you know, years ago when you hunted there? There was cattails or...
well, Town Line Ditch, north of there was mostly all willow brush.
What was?
There were potholes in there, but it was mostly all brush, willow.
Did you know where you were going when you went up there? Kind of just scout that out a little bit beforehand, or did you just push in there and...
Oh, we knew the marsh pretty well.
Yeah.
Just kind of figured, well, that's where the ducks were flying. There were potholes in there, and you didn't have nobody in there to bother you. Not like today. You'd be up there and there'd be 100 guys around you. You go up there in those days and you'd see maybe 2 or 3 guys, and
Remember
it was
some you were
usually
with-
one of the fire hammers or Louis Ploggeman.
Oh yeah, yeah. Did you have decoys then? You use decoys?
Yeah, yeah. These decoys.
And
The first ones we had they were sold by Sears Roebuck. Then later we had some decoys that were made by Herder.
oh, the Herder store is still in Beaver Dam here, isn't it?
What's that?
The Herder store is still.
Well,
I think somebody bought them. Cabela's or somebody bought
Cabela's
them.
bought them out.
But I think they still got stuff there, waiters and stuff like that, don't they?
Yeah, they got a lot of stuff there, and they still make decoys there.
But you said Firehammer used to hunt up there, and Louis Ploggeman used to hunt up there too, huh?
Yeah.
What did you shoot there? More mallards than anything else? Have you tried, or early in the
Well,
year?
like I say, the limit in those days when I used to hunt, the limit was 10, and you wouldn't go out and try to shoot 10 teal because you wanted something to bring home, so you'd probably shoot a big black mallard or...
Were there more blacks in those days than there are? And blacks are kind of scarce now.
Yeah, well, there were a lot of black mallards, and there was well, the majority of ducks that they had in those days were probably black ducks,
Shoot pintails?
mallards, not too many pintail.
Widgeon?
Widgeon later on,
Yeah.
towards the end of the season, but at the beginning of the season it was mostly all local ducks, and those were mallards. Blue-winged teal were always there.
Oh, yeah. Mud hens, a lot of mud hens
A
too?
lot of mud hens.
And when did that season open there in those days?
Oh,
First of
man,
September maybe, middle of September maybe?
I don't remember anymore when it opened, but we'd always go up a week or two ahead of time and build some blinds, and before the season was over, you probably moved to a different spot anyway, because the place you picked the first time wasn't very good anymore.
That's a town line ditch you went to, that far up there, huh? Google Fireman told me a story one time where he had his wife along. And he lost the decoys. He put them in. He talked about them willows the same way. There was a lot of willows there. And he was looking for some crippled ducks or whatever, and they couldn't find the decoys. And they ended up down by, I don't know where they were, Apple Island someplace there. And some guys came through and they said, "Didn't see my decoy?" Yeah, they did. And so he told them where to go. And these guys told Hugo where to go, and he found his decoys. But he actually lost his decoys in those willows. It was flooded and it was all full of willow tops sticking up like that. He could get lost there. And he did. He couldn't find the decoys. But he found them after a while again. But one year he said it was really a good year there. I forgot when it was.
1938.
That was it. 38. He said, boy, they were shooting with ducks all over and bang here, bang there. There was.
The water was so high that year we'd go over on the west side of the marsh and launch the boat in the farmer's pasture.
Now where would that have been? Kind of
It was
up above the Miski
north.
farm?
It was right around north of Burnett.
Well, that far north.
North of Burnett, and we'd well, maybe it was south of Burnett. It probably was south of Burnett because there was more farmland to the south of Burnett than there was to the north there. And we'd drive right up in the farmer's pasture, unload the duck skiff, put it in the water, and put the little motor on. And we come to a barbed wire fence, and you pull the barbed wire fence apart, and you go through the fence with the boat.
Water was that high.
The water was that high, that's right. And then in the following year, 1939, the water was so low, and it was dry. My dad had a 1928 Buick, and that's where I learned to drive a car. And I drove from the east side of the marsh, which is where the conservation department now has a
By Quick's Point up there?
No, not by Quick's Point.
Out further on 28 out there?
Right on 28, there's a...
Right, the headquarters there.
Yeah, the headquarters. We'd go down there, get into the marsh, drive all the way across the marsh to Little Baby 4 Mile.
Okay.
With that 1928 Buick. It was that dry.
Where did you hunt then? Walk north to Malvin's Bay there?
From there, When I was doing that, it was during pheasant season.
Oh,
It was not the duck hunting then because the water was so low, but there was still ducks right in the main channel and 4 Mile channel
okay.
and at 4 Mile, Olson's Bay.
Right. So you could hunt pheasants and ducks then.
Yeah.
There was pheasants around in those days?
What?
Pretty good pheasant hunting in those days?
Excellent.
Huh. You had the dog along? You used the dog then?
Yeah, that was that. That was that dog. You call him Spot.
You'd put them up, huh?
Oh yeah. Of course, there were better dogs than that, but that's the only one we had, so we hunted with him.
Yeah. Yeah, that marsh, when you went up in a marsh with a boat like that in those days, the ditch bank was pretty raw yet, I suppose, where they threw or was it growing up with trees already by that time?
Big what?
Trees. Are the trees already on the ditch bank when you went all the way up?
Oh, sure. Yeah, the trees were always there. After they went through there with a dredge and dug all this dirt out and a lot of peat with it, and it made the ditch banks. And these are mostly all cottonwood
Oh, yeah.
that were growing there. And then when the water was down and the marsh was dry, this peat in the ditch banks would catch fire. Or somebody would light a marsh grass fire, and then this stuff would catch fire, and it would smolder all winter long, like coal. And then it would burn all the peat and vegetation underneath the roots of these big trees. And then the wind would come up and blow these big trees right across. They would be laying right out into the river because they were pretty big size. They'd probably 2 or 3 feet in diameter in the trunks. They were pretty good size.
Do you remember that dam going in when the dike went in across there for the federal?
Yeah.
That was right after the war.
Right,
During
that was
the war.
right after the war.
Right after the war. 'Cause I remember fishing perch up there below that dam. There was always when I was a kid in high school, boy, there was good perch fishing in the river. You could catch big perch in them in the marsh.
There was some nice perch fishing in the marsh.
And I fished below the dam, and I remember the turnip poles out there hauling that dirt out for the dam, but I don't remember what year that was.
It was probably in 1946 or 47. Gus Burns did work for him. He hauled worked up there and for whoever was building this dike.
Okay.
It was the federal government most likely. And what they had was a lot of surplus army equipment,
I see.
bulldozers and stuff like that.
That's what they built that with. When you went up there, and when did they stop that you could hunt up there anymore? You were up there in 38, the water was high, 39 it was low. That was about the last time you hunted up there then maybe, huh?
Last time I hunted on
The federal, I mean.
the federal,
You must have got to a point there where you couldn't go in there anymore, you know.
well, before they were buying this property, and some of it was just, you might say, abandoned. They probably didn't pay taxes on it or whatever, and the government picked all this property up. And after they got to own all this stuff, well, then they made a federal refuge out of it. The government was owning this property to start with,
Right.
but it was not a refuge at that time.
I see. So when you hunted up there was probably some of that was federal land already when you hunted up there
Yes,
probably.
yes, that's true.
Yeah.
I read years ago where some of this land they were selling it for 10 cents an acre.
And any, never saw any geese up there in those days, I suppose, either.
No, if you saw, I got pictures. I'll show you that one.
How different.
I got pictures where when you shot a goose, that was news. They put your picture in the paper and
Yeah.
write an article about it.
I remember I graduated from high school with Kenny Beyer, and I think his dad hunted ducks a lot. It was Delmer Beyer. You ever remember the name?
I heard of the name, but I didn't
But
know.
he had his picture in the paper one time where he shot a goose, and that was geese weren't there before that. Geese came there in the 50s, I think. Later on, so many of them.
When you shot a goose in those days, that was news. There's a. This is a picture.
You see other stuff up there too. You saw some. There were no sand-hill cranes. There was always herons around and stuff like that.
There were always blue herons and egrets, but very seldom would you see like goose.
You must have shot these look like snow geese.
Yes, there were snow geese. What happened one day, Frankie Gunther, if you knew him, did you know Frank?
No, I didn't know Frankie Gunther.
Well, Frank,
Is he your age? You 100 with
he's
him?
younger than I am. Well, anyway, Frank got kicked out of high school for smoking, and then he got mad and he joined the Navy. So he was in service, and when he got out of the Navy, he was on a submarine.
Okay.
And when he got out of the Navy, he went back to high school and graduated. And when he came home from the Navy, we went up, and it was a day when